Welcome to another episode of PowerMove Makers. This series was created with a simple goal in mind: to bring to the table high-level achievers, successful businessmen, and just all-around inspiring human beings. Not just highlighting their successes, but more important, focusing on the road that they travel to get there. Now, this week's guest, I'm a huge fan of this man. I love the work that he's doing and all of the wonderful service that he's providing to humanity. He is an amazing award-winning author, award-winning documentarian. He is considered to be the best life coach on the planet. Please welcome Mr. Tony J. Selimi.
Thank you so much for this opportunity to be of service to your audience.
Tony, no, I think you're going to provide great service to our audience. I love your insight. I love your perspective, and you have done so much. And what's important about your story and what I like to convey to my audience is you didn't have a really good rise to the top. There were a lot of bumps. There were a lot of bruises. There were a lot of setbacks. And somehow or another, you tapped into the inner and was able to work yourself up to be in the position you are today. So I really believe you're going to provide great inspiration to our audience.
Thank you so much for that. I think every setback that we all face, because life will take us through many rivers, through many mountains, through many hurricanes, will hit you when least expected. But it is true, it's that inner inspiration, that God-given intelligence that lives within us, that gives that glimpse of hope and gives that hand for us to just make one step out of that ditch when we find ourselves very deep in some form of trouble that life throws us.
Yep. Tony, I hear the accent. For our audience, where are you originally from?
I was originally born in Yugoslavia, former Yugoslavia. Today, Northern Republic of Macedonia is the land of the Alexander the Great.
Got you. How was your upbringing? Were you always this insightful? What type of child were you?
Basically, from a very young age, I was very different to many people around me. And I always was curious about life because I grew up in a very multicultural society. And when I mean multicultural, very diverse, both religious, ethnic groups, social class, but also back then it was communist country. So there are many different influences in my life. And one thing I always felt deep in my soul back then, abuse towards women was massive. And really it used to hurt me when I would see my mother being beaten up or my sisters being called names and being beaten up just for the fact that my parents worked very hard to educate us. So it wasn't very normal for a hardworking family to bring their children up into the best schools. So it's sort of one thing that my parents really instilled in me is the importance. They gave us two choices to all of us. I'm the youngest of six. I have 4 sisters and a brother, and we're all in 6 different countries today we live. And they said, either you can work like we did, which is my parents, we had restaurant business and also we had a farm. So either you can be uneducated and do all of those jobs and never have time for your family, for your children, and you'll be working like us 24 hours to educate you, or we are going to provide you the best education so you can go one day and have a great life and make a bigger impact. But those troubles back then as a child, seeing all of those things and seeing when people literally, but just because you're different, they don't give you opportunities. They don't give you like a way into a best school or for a job. For that matter, as an Albanian I'm an ethnic Albanian born in Macedonia. So this is like a country that once used to be a greater Albania, but then became Macedonia during the First World War and Second World War. So basically you were treated like a minority. You were treated like rubbish, the worst of the worst. And I never felt, I always asked the question, if we are children of God and every religion, because Macedonia has 3 major religions, Muslim religion, Catholic religion, and Orthodox. And all 3 religions preach about, we are children of God. but then you see all this separation across every fabric of life. And you say, well, how is it possible that if God created us, then you are treated this way? So this question about bringing justice, bringing equality, bringing education, bringing improvement in people's lives and giving opportunities to children and families and a wider society and to make a difference was with me from almost like age of 5. When I would tell my parents, ask my parents why they treat me like this, or why they treat my parents like this, or why my mother is being treated like this, or why my sisters don't have the opportunities to go to school. So those questions were like that. But then, you know, there have been many other setbacks. You know, as a child, I was also sexually abused under the roof of my parents, and my parents did not even know that. It's only later in life, as I started with my self-development, initially I almost had this block in my head that ever happened. And it was, for us as a man, it's very difficult to open up emotionally to somebody. So it took me 30 years of self-development, and only when I arrived in England during the Civil War, so that I actually started observing other people and started to learn from a different environment that it's okay for me to learn, and it's okay for me to speak up about injustice, about all the things that boiled up with me almost 20 years inside of me. So, you know, the reason I came to England is because the civil war in former Yugoslavia, hundreds of thousands of people were murdered, and I was taken from school straight into civil war and trained to be a soldier. So against my own will, I was put in a situation to find my own people, and my life was saved. I ended up homeless on the streets of London, losing
don't go further.
Family.
Don't go further yet, because you're sharing so much wonderful information. I want to go back for a second. Did you say you were forced into the Civil War to actually fight your own people?
Yes. Basically, in former Yugoslavia, is basically when the civil unrest happened. Yugoslavian army was the people's army, but during the conflict, that became a weapon, a tool of the Serbian leader at the time to literally initiate the civil war, racism, nationalism, and what happened is a destruction of the entire country within 10 years of war, and thousands of people losing their lives, and children being raped, women being raped. I mean, the atrocities that, hopefully we as human beings learned from Second World War, from what happened to the Jewish people, what happened to so many other people around the world, the wars in Africa, the wars in Afghanistan, in Iran, Iraq, and yet it's happening in the middle of Europe, and nobody did not care. So it was really, really difficult time of my life because my entire identity got crushed. Now you can imagine.
How old were you at the time?
19.
So you're still a teenager. What did some of these traumas do to the psyche of a 19-year-old who's forced into a war, and you're forced to fight your own people for things you don't even believe in? How does that affect you emotionally and your outlook on life?
It affects you. There's two ways with this. The first part is it can kill you. It can literally take your life. And I've been through those moments of suicide. I've been through moments being in civil war where, just me and my comrade back to back, hearing all the shootings around us, and you never know every second whether you're going to live or not. Wow. So, when you go through those moments, you know what? You appreciate every second given to you. And your psychology can change in multiple ways. For me, I created this post-traumatic disorder in myself, and emotionally I was broken. When I came to England, I didn't have any form of support. I did not even speak English. I had nobody. I had no friends, no roof over my head. I just landed at the airport, and then I had one rucksack that my mom put together, some food. She borrowed some little money, and she put me on a plane, and I would never forget that moment of separation, because I never knew whether I will see my mom again or whether I will see my family again. And at the time was
why did your mother? Because now and I'm so sorry to cut in, but I want to just in terms of bringing clarity to the audience. You make it through the war, obviously, suffer a lot of trauma. You come out. Why did your mother buy a one-way ticket and
because
put
the
you on
war
a
was
plane?
still going on. The war went on another 8 years. So
Oh,
this is like at the beginning of the war that happened down there, and basically my entire unit, because I became a commander at the age of 19. Almost like 80% of my unit was murdered during one of the rages that happened, and I was saved. My life was saved, and then my mom, because my dad was caught up in Bosnia as well, so my parents couldn't communicate with each other. So my mom borrowed some money and put me on the last plane out of Macedonia that was safe to go anywhere in Europe. And that was the last plane to London, and I ended up in London homeless. So the first 6 months of my London life was living homeless and simply crying, trying to make sense of my reality. One day I was in a war, and the second day I'm homeless with nobody around me.
oh, I mean, this is powerful. Wow. So your mom put you on this last plane to the UK. Do you have any family there? Is there anyone who's supposed to pick you up from the airport? Is there any resources that you have in this foreign land? Nothing.
Absolutely not. None.
So you
None. It
arrive.
was,
you arrive, and I'm so sorry, because it's an important point. You spoke earlier about the importance of education in your family. Prior to going to the military, did you ever enroll in a university? Were you?
yes. Basically,
you
in Macedonia, I went into one of the top math school in former Yugoslavia, and I won many awards, despite of all the bullying, despite of the challenges of being different from the majority of people around you. I won many awards, and that I started my first year at one of the top universities in Europe, in Zagreb, which is in Croatia. And it is during that first year at university, when the civil war broke up, that basically the army took us straight from university straight into the army.
Wow. Okay. So you land in England. You're homeless. Can you give us a sense and when you say homeless, because a lot of people who are successful, they loosely use that term. They have maybe a couch that they can sleep on. Maybe they have family that says, look, you can crash here for a few days, but this is technically not your home. When you say you were homeless, were you one of the people that we see literally laying on the concrete, cardboard boxes, no bathroom, no shelter, homeless?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, and it's basically, I mean, it was very difficult time of my life, Shawn, because frankly, I did not care about my life. I cared about what was happening, that nobody else cared.
Oh, okay. You're homeless for 6 straight months. How do you transition? Because that's a difficult road. It's a difficult position to be in, especially at such a young age. That can break someone. You just came through war, so thank God you weren't broken there. And now you find yourself in, some would argue, an even worse position, living on the streets. From a purely mental and psychological point of view, how did you not break? And more important, how did you get out of that situation in 6 months? Because there are people who have been homeless for years and can't seem to figure it out.
I think it's that force within us, Shawn, that force, God-given intelligence, and maybe, I believe that we all are here for a specific duty. I believe God sent us in here to do some greater service that goes beyond ourselves. Some of us, we discover it early in life. Other people maybe discover it through hard adversity. Other people are discovering maybe somebody close to you dies. Maybe you do it because, you are called to do it, or maybe you believe in something so strong that you dedicate your life to it. So those 6 months for me were life transforming on so many levels. And reason being, I think I always say, like, change comes to you and service comes to you without you even asking. It just basically, that soul that lives within us has been there before this lifetime, and it knows how to guide you. We just need to listen to it. And I think after I shed all the tears I've ever had, I could not cry anymore. Suddenly I found myself in silence. And it was in that silence that I really heard that calling that I heard when I was a kid, to go out there and be the best version I can be and help billion people transform their lives and educate myself, get back on the track, find a job, learn the language, adapt, because my grandparents, they always read books. My grandfather always taught me about books. And my parents taught me, I learned everything about what I need to learn about farming. I learned anything I needed to learn about restaurant business. On top of that, I was a scientist, I was a mathematician, and I literally wanted to learn about life, about discovering the questions of life, the mysteries of life, studying different religions, because I've come from a mixed product religion with a mixed culture, and I wanted to really unlock that human potential in every child, in every adult, so we can create a better future and we can direct the consciousness of humanity and literally take care of what I call it, the sacredness of what we are, life. And unless we really wake up to that, unless we wake up that, you know, we together, we are all passengers in this world, you know, and we pretend like we own something. We pretend we own those borders, we own those countries, we own those religions, we own those things, and we all come naked and we go back naked. And if we really listen to those words, and if we really honor what life is about and what everything around us represents, we start to change. An environment for sure changes you. Because, you know, being in London has this amazing environment, has this amazing freedom that basically, if you are called and if you are honest, have integrity, and you love working, you'll break through. And if you don't give yourself excuses, you know, you can find opportunities. It wasn't easy, that for sure. But after 6 months, I got myself into a job. And in the next, I would say 9 years, I worked with no break. And usually my sleeping hours were for 9 years, 4 hours a day, a habit which today follows me. Meaning,
Wow.
I had to work full time because I had to pay for my own education and I had to study full time. So that work and study full time finished when I got my degree at one of the top engineering universities here in London. And by then the war stopped in former Yugoslavia. And the biggest gift I got is the fact that although I lost many members of my family, I did not lose my parents. And basically I flew mom and dad for my graduation in London in 1998. And that for me was like, I don't know, call it miracle of God, call it a miracle. It was a miracle to unite myself with my family after 8 years.
Such a beautiful story. Such a beautiful, well, it's a beautiful ending. The story itself is filled with a lot of drama. Tony, you touched on something that I try to really dig into week over week with my audience. And I want to go back a little bit because you said while you were out there living homeless, laying on that concrete, you got in touch with your inner voice. You got in touch with that thing on the inside. Can you speak to our audience, because somebody right now is going through a storm. Somebody right this second thinks that this is the end of the road. The life that I am living in right now, it's going to be the life that I experience for the rest of my days. And that just isn't true. So can you speak to the importance of being quiet, getting still? In your case, you didn't have shelter. So I got to imagine it was noise all around you. But still, even with your environment being noisy, you came to a quiet place. and you tap to that inner voice and you heard it and you listen. Can you speak to that?
Yes, absolutely, Shawn. It's I honestly believe with all of my heart, without any shadow of a doubt, that any human being out there can be in touch with that voice and they can change their circumstances, regardless who you are, regardless what background you are, regardless what stages in your life you are. Why? Because we have an intelligence within us that we yet are to understand. Okay, we're beginning to understand what drives us. You know, how this miracle, the body that we have, this, I would say, a cover that our soul uses into this experience of life. But, you know, even if you don't have any resources, even if you lost everything in your life, even if you are the lowest of the lowest, nobody can take away from you what's inside of you. Nobody, absolutely nobody. So it is, I would say, for anybody out there who's struggling at the moment, okay, you can sit down, whatever space you are, and just close your eyes. And with closing your eyes, if you find it difficult to meditate, what you could do is take a visual or take an image or take a word. You don't have to know Sanskrit or know Indian mantras or other mantras that other people. Mantra could be just a simple word that something means to you. And pay attention to your breath. And then as you learn to understand how the breath works, breath is literally the force that if we take the breath, we are emotionless. You know, the soul and the body go together. So the soul is that breath every day you're taking. You don't even have to think to breathe. So if you start breathing and you start breathing deeply and you focus your entire being in your breath, you'll start to raise your awareness of that intelligence within you, and you start coming to that silence that literally knows what your next step is.
How do someone recognize that? You know, say myself, I'm listening to you. I want to believe you. I trust you. You are this global life coach. So obviously you know what you're speaking of. But for somebody like me who's a novice, somebody who's going to listen to this in podcast form, maybe watch the video, how do we know when that voice is not just something we conjured up in our own head, or it is actually you have tapped into a consciousness that is deeper, and it is speaking back to you, and it is telling you the right way to go, or providing you direction? How do we know when we've arrived at that place?
There's two different things in there, Shawn. One is our mind speaking to you. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's what you're saying. How do we know that stuff? Which Correct. Is all the noises in our head. Okay, and then the other part is what I call the true intuition. And true intuition only surfaces when the mind is silent. So you don't have to think anything, but you simply know. And when I say to you no, I want you to repeat that word no, and you will hear a resonation in your heart, in your chest. So no. A knowing, it's something your soul gives you a message. It's like what I call it in my first book, A Path to Wisdom, I wrote a song about it, a call for love. And a call for love, it's your soul's call to you to love yourself, to love your soul, to love God. And the mind, for instance, how do we know? We are intelligent beings. If I take any person, okay, and I brought them, let's say, to at the top of a 22-story building, and I said, jump, they're not going to jump. Correct. How do they know? Okay? So they know their life will simply be gone. Our body is intelligent body. So we know intuitively when something feels good and when something does not feel good. The problem is we ignore that voice. You know, it's the same in a relationship. It's the same with all the leaders I coach around the world. It's the same in the business. When I go into business, if they ask me to let's say, improve their performance, their productivity, their sales. It does not matter. People are people. Human behavior, emotional intelligence, spiritual intelligence, it's in every human being at a different levels of awareness. Now, all I have to do is to find out where they are and then give them a roadmap. But that knowing, it's something that every human being has it at that level of awareness they find themselves in that moment. Because your knowing will consistently change. So will your awareness. You know, nature changes every second. Correct. And we expect ourselves not to be like nature, yet we say ourselves we are nature. But then we deny the changes, when especially changes that are destructive. You know, when people said to me, I want to save nature, I said, great, let me put you at the crater of a volcano. Let's see whether nature is going to save you. Okay? So we try to be counterintuitive, you know, and we catch ourselves saying things, but not doing things which are in alignment with nature, in alignment with everything that created us. We tend to love the good things, but disown the bad things. And this is the biggest problem, and this is the biggest illusion, and something I'm writing about in all of my books, especially in the 4th book I just finished, which is the Unfakeable Code, giving humanity a unique code to consistently upgrade their psychology, their emotional body, physical body, spirituality, wealth, business, and bring all of that into equilibrium so they can go out there and literally deliver their soul's calling, why they're here, what they're here to do.
Okay, so let's speak about that right there. It's a good segue. Many people, they're working a job, they feel undervalued, underappreciated. They feel as though I have to keep this job because I backed myself into a corner. It pays the bills. I need it, but I hate it. I hate being here. It does not fulfill my spirit. Is it too late? Is it ever too late to make a change, to change the course of your life? Because if you're 20, maybe 30 years old, you don't have but so many responsibilities to you. Maybe you don't have that mortgage. Maybe you don't have 5 kids. But a 40-year-old, 50-year-old has been doing the same thing 20, 30 years now. And they feel as though the company is getting younger, I'm getting squeezed out, I'm trying to hold on for dear life. Is it too late for any of us to make a course correction, make a change in our life?
Every breath is an opportunity for change. So if we take just that statement, Shawn, I think every human being can realize that in any moment, your life changes. So, you know, before we started this dialogue, you may have read about me.
Yep.
But now you will have a whole different perception of who I am, where I'm coming from.
Correct.
And both our lives would have been enriched because I've seen your name, but I did not put a face and a voice and a human being in front of me like we are now. So change is consistently around us. The problem is we perceive it that it's not there. And therefore, when we need to change something, we find it difficult to change.
How important, and I'll start with you. Do you still to this day have mentors? Do you still seek counseling outside of yourself, considering you're the best life coach on the planet?
I believe every human being needs to have a mentor. Because my calling is to bring this work and my method in education, in healthcare, in business, in leadership, and changing government and politics, and bring the method across the board to 1 billion people, I also need a mentor that are already there. Because, you know, I've reached all of those things about creating the millions and creating all of those things. But my vision is, in order to deliver this vision, I need to have both spiritual intelligence and material wealth, bring it together to make a greater impact in the world. When people ask me about, you know, how'd you do it? For 30 years, Shawn, I've never stopped investing in myself. Not for 30 years. Practically from the age of 5 when I started school. because even back then, my father hired a private math and science tutor to work with me. So when I started high school, I already had the knowledge of the physics and maths for 4 years in advance. So when I started university in Croatia before the war, I already passed the entry exams, and I was top 3 from 1,300 students.
Oh, wow.
And when I came to England, I already knew the science and engineering that was being taught at UCL. So I think learning and growing and always having mentors around, I promote that globally. Why? Because we cannot be our own mirror. You know, that's why we even have a mirror. If we didn't have mirror, we wouldn't even know how do we look. You know, because somebody might say to you, this is how you look, but unless you see yourself, you don't know. And I always believe, you know, if you look at the car, the way we designed the cars, when we look at the mirrors, imagine if you remove all the side mirrors, it won't be safe to drive. Similarly, it won't be safe for you to go on a path, especially if you have a bigger vision in life, or you want to create a new job or new business, or you have problems in your relationship, or you have mental problems, you have stress, you have emotional problems, whatever it might be, that we all go through challenges. I always recommend people go to the best. Even if you'd have to invest everything you have, do it. The way I did it for the 10 years, you know, I held 3 jobs to be able to hire different healers, pay for my education, and have mentorship and coaches before I even thought I'm going to become one. Because back then, my vision was to be one of the top technology officers and run a big company. And, you know, that was my vision back then. But the reality is, my mother knew I'm going to write books 20 years before I started writing my first book. And, you know, then I met all those teachers and all those amazing people who said to me, oh, your vision is too small at the moment. By the time you go 40, your entire life will change. And I used to laugh at them. And, you know, part of me wanted to believe it, and part of me saying, who are you to tell me about my future? But the reality is, every 10 years, my entire life has shifted. You know, I spent 20 years in technology and education, running billion-pound technology programs, managing people, developing people, and almost keeping up to date with all the licensing and all the, I would say, qualifications that Microsoft and all the different back-end system acquired from me to have, and all the government, I would say, regulations. So I had to be up to date with all the knowledge to be able to keep up at that level of seniority. But during all of that time, I went into a lot of seminars, a lot of workshops when it comes to mindset, when it comes to healing, because I studied a lot of the healers, because as a child, I had a lot of health challenges. And I almost lost my life in hospital at the age of 9. And it was a healer back in Macedonia that my mom used to take me that in a way helped me heal fully from an illness that the doctors told my parents that I'm going to die. So for me, this curiosity about understanding the unseen, understanding the, I would say, the alternative way of approaching well-being, and then bringing science to that was with me all of my life. It just went to a whole new level, new awareness every time I would overcome a certain challenge in my life.
I love that you said, you know, because I asked you about mentors, and you said you tell people, go to the best and spend whatever it takes, because really it's an investment in yourself.
In you.
It is
your greatest asset. It's you, no one else, not your family, not your child. You know, that's why when you go on a plane, first you put the mask to an adult, not to a child. Correct. You know, that's why they made it illegal for you to do that. Because in case of a crash, you all die. You know, in case of a crash with you as an adult, you have a time to save your child. Similarly, the more you as a parent become stronger in mindset, emotionally, financially, in business, in relationship, you empower all of those areas of life, the more your child will be empowered.
With that thought, you know, a question just occurred to me. What would you say is the #1 killer of finances? You see people who can't just get it right in relationship. And again, you know, they get with great people, but they find a way to sabotage their own relationship. They may work at a great job, but they find a way to sabotage the relationships in terms of moving up the corporate ladder. Is there a mindset that holds these people back? What is the number one killer, in your opinion?
Well, you actually answered the question.
Really?
It is indeed, it is the mind. Why? Because the mind is the engine that creates your reality. You know, a lot of people chase wealth in the future. Wealth is not in the future. Wealth is present in the moment.
Stop there. Stop there. Stop. Whoa. I like where you're going. I want you to elaborate on that. Wealth is not in the future. Well, because there's somebody right now who's broke as hell. There's somebody right now who is sitting in a 1-bedroom apartment somewhere and they can barely pay the rent. What do you mean wealth is in the present?
Okay. So if you look at science, because I studied quantum physics, I studied law of attraction, I studied everything, a lot of the things that basically are out there and they've been there for ages, but human mind cannot comprehend it in a way that helps them serve, helps them transform their lives. That's why I wanted to combine the Eastern and Western methodologies into one so people can use that. Meaning, neither past, both past and future is created in the present.
Okay, I got to wrap my mind around that. Neither past...
Both past and the future is created in the moment.
Elaborate.
Without the moment, without the present moment, you don't have past, you don't have a future.
Okay, I think I'm following you. But this is very cerebral for me.
It's a deep concept, but
yes,
it's a very scientific concept.
It's very cerebral. I'm right now trying to really grasp this concept.
Everything that is in the present moment. That also includes wealth. The problem is if the brain perceives it that it's not, it keeps chasing it in the future. Therefore, you're not present in the moment.
Oh, wow. Gotcha.
So you could have the greatest opportunity presented to you in front of you because you are chasing it in the future, you're missing it.
I love this. Incredible concept. Okay, talk to me about relationship. How does this apply to having a good relationship?
So a good relationship for me, I mean, I'm talking about it in all of my books. There's a chapter on Path to Wisdom about relationships. And majority of the people have an illusion about a relationship, what relationship needs to be. And this is both from whatever type of relationship, whether it's heterosexual or homosexuals, it doesn't matter. It's a relationship. That relationship goes to relationship with your child, in business, in leadership, with government, with nature, with animals, a relationship with all that life gives you. Now, if you're talking about intimate relationship, the problem in intimate relationship, majority of the people come together from a point of infatuation. You know, they see what they want to see in you. And then as they come together, they start realizing that you're not that ideal person they imagined in their head. So instead of them working out together and raising their vibration and actually co-creating together, they start resenting one another. Because I've done a lot of relationship coaching. In some people, I help them save their relationship and strengthen their marriage and became fantastic couples. And others, I help them divorce with love. And this is what was founded, the documentary, because my clients who hired me, they hired me to help grow their technology business from 1 million a year to 1 million a month. And on that journey, I realized it wasn't the problem of the business. The first problem was the couple who owned the business. They had problems with each other. And then I ended up both coaching the business and I started coaching them separately as a couple. And on that journey, because of all the awareness they were getting and all the insights they were getting, they got so inspired that basically we co-partnered and we put that camera directly live at them. We started to film the sessions and all the insights and everything that happened.
That's the Living My Illusion documentary.
Correct.
Correct.
So basically, it's what you're going to see in Living My Illusion is 47 minutes, but actually it's a 3 years squeezed in 47 minutes told as a real story. There's no like, we don't fake anything. It's literally real life in the moment filming and squeezed and cut and put the story together from real moments, real transformations, real clients, real people, real issues. Because, you know, when I started, it's one of the things that I'm very good at. I can pick up people's energy. That's why they call me the see-through coach. No matter what chaos you tell me, I'll go straight to the root cause or what causes the chaos for you. And then I demystify your psychology and suddenly you become clear. So, and that can be for health reasons, health issues, could be relationship, could be intimacy, could be sex, could be impotency, could be depression. It does not matter what the problem is, because the reality is once you demystify this, once you clarify things in the person, that person starts transforming inside out. Now, with that transformation comes new insights, comes new awareness. And then if through that you're honoring your truth, that truth will come out. That's why the tagline is "The truth hurts," because they're both living in a miserable relationship, pretending to be happy, pretending there was nothing wrong.
Okay. You're providing so much wisdom. You spoke about love, and I want to zone in on that for a second, because you also spoke about transformation and growth. Can you grow or transform as a human being, or even reach a higher level of consciousness without first loving yourself?
Okay, there's two different concepts in here. You know, people consistently transform, Shawn. Although you might not think you're transforming, reality is you're like nature. Your entire body transforms. Billions of cells get killed, new cells are reborn. Same way, so even though if you have the perception you're not changing, reality is not there. You know, you're living that illusion that you're not transforming. But loving yourself, it's a lifelong journey. It's not something that a statement that you achieve and say, I've done. That's the biggest illusion that people live, meaning that, oh, I love myself. But when I go and question and fire up 1,000 questions at somebody sitting in my session, they humble themselves in that intelligence, what comes out of them. And the truth is, it's a journey. It's not something, a destination we need to reach. And what I noticed in the personal development, spiritual development, they're selling an illusion to people. You know, they're selling something which is not in alignment with science, with who we are in our essence. You know, in our essence, we are dual in our nature. Yet we are taught to disown those things we don't like about ourselves and chase a fantasy of happiness, that one day we reach this state of happiness. And this is how they split up. They split up the psychology of the human being, and people then become, they have OCD, they have many mental disorders, and then people become feeling they're nobody. You know, and if you look at anywhere, every fabric of life, they're taking advantage of people's lack of awareness of their working, how the body works, how the mind works, how the emotion works, and how you as a body work with the universe and with all those laws that are higher than ourselves. If you want to go higher in life, you need to bring that body into alignment. I would call it into alignment. You know, although I absolutely love myself and I love my life, the reality is I'm consistently growing. You know, when new challenge comes, in that moment, you don't love yourself. You'll be full of hatred if something challenges you. Then in the next moment, you switch. And, you know, it's about becoming great at managing those states and becoming a great leader, a great teacher, or a great healer, or a great parent. And great parents is about having this beautiful objectivity in you. And especially in today's world, when people have information at their hand, you know, at the touch of our hand, we've got billions of information. But the reality is most people don't check if that information is true. And then you engage with your emotions, and therefore you attract that reality. You know, when it comes to about wealth building, in 2008, 2009, during the last financial crisis, After 20 years of hard work, now you know a bit about where I came from.
Yep.
And after I reached certain level of success and bought myself a flat and everything else, helped my family in a war zone, helped everybody, I faced redundancy from a job I loved, and suddenly my paycheck was gone. My entire security was gone. And then for the second time, I faced homelessness. I went to one of the biggest shopping streets in London called Oxford Street. And agencies were telling me I'm overqualified, there's no jobs for me. Newspapers were telling me the same. Media was telling me the same. Agencies were telling me the same. My friends were telling me the same. Everybody around me who thought the crisis are very bad, economy is going down, were telling me the same. So at 5 a.m. in the morning, I go to Oxford Street and I go back to my spot where I used to be homeless. And I went there and sat down, and I sat down, I saw the sunrise, and I started seeing when the shop opening. And I sat there sitting, watching people. Nobody knew of my predicament, what my pain, nobody, absolutely nobody. We are alone when we are in those moments. And I'm seeing all these people spending money. And I'm asking myself the question, where is the crisis? Where is this economy that is falling? You know, people are buying bags which cost £10,000. And I'm saying to myself in here, how on earth did I build this psychology? There's a lack when there's plenty in there. So clearly you have people who think everything is disastrous. Then you have people who think everything is amazing. And then you ask yourself the question, who do I want to be? You know, how do I want to think? This is what I ask myself. Do I want to believe these people who tell me there's nothing? Or do I want to be one of these people and find a way to sell a product to all these people who are buying? And I wanted to find a solution. And therefore, I brought many solutions to humanity. So for me, wealth is nothing more than you providing solution to as many people as possible. If you change people's lives and you bring value and you bring a real solution to a big problem they have, they'll pay you any money they can.
Wow. And you learned that in that moment, 5 a.m., being in the same place that you used to lay homeless.
20 years before. And
Wow.
I'm observing and I said, okay, so I worked all of my life in that job, just over broke job that keeps you into that machine. Okay. And here I am finding myself 20 years down the line. And I said, is this God or is this me? Is this, you know, the environment that people telling me there's no jobs? Yet I have evidence that people are spending money. So, you know, we tend to automatically, majority of the people, especially clients I work, in the first 2-hour session, I can see their psychology inside out. And I can see exactly why this person has a problem. And that psychology is what creates everything. You know, you can have the best Ferrari, best car. If the engine is of a Fiat, it's not going to be a Ferrari. Okay? So that engine, it's your brain. And if you nurture your brain and invest and get as many seminars, as many books, as many experiences, as if you can, as I said, hire as many people as you can, because I've done all of those until those people start hiring me. So, you know, in those moments in Oxford Street, I'm looking around and I said, okay, I need to change. I need to change my own psychology. And it's not government's job to pay me or somebody else's fault that I lost my job. Because our psychology by default loves to blame other people for our own miseries. Wants to blame government, wants to blame the economy, wants to blame the coronavirus, wants to blame something. But I teach all of my clients a simple technique. This one, you know, one finger points at you, the economy, the virus, no jobs, blah, blah, blah. One point said, okay, God created it that way, so therefore I need to put up with it. And then we forget those 3 fingers that point at ourselves. And it's only those 3 fingers that create the change.
So with that said, how important is it for all of us to live our purpose? First off, find our purpose. You know, you can speak to people any day of the week and you can ask them. It doesn't matter if they are 18 years old or 58 years old. You ask them just a regular question. What is it you want to do with your life? And most of them have to scratch their head. because they don't know, or maybe they never sat quiet enough and was still long enough to figure out your life purpose. Does financial freedoms, successful life, spiritual growth, does it all begin with living your life's purpose?
Well, first of all, there's no such thing as life purpose. There's such thing as an evolving purpose.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Elaborate.
Okay? Because I see, again, a lot of training seminars out there that teach people, I'll help you find your life purpose. But if I were to take you for 50 years of my life, in any moment in my life, I had a purpose. I just did not know it, I had a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So we all have a purpose in any moment, but this illusion that you don't is what makes people even go deeper into depression.
Correct.
Meaning, if you're a parent right now, do I have to tell you that you have to bring up your children? No, I don't. You know, it's your duty for you to bring your children. Okay? So a lot of people try to mimic. The problem with the environment around you is that you get so much choice, and then you don't know who your true self is. And therefore, you're seeking something outside of yourself. Or you may be comparing yourself with somebody who does not have your trajectory of life path. You know, I get people saying to me, I'm a business coach like you. I said, really? And then I start asking them 5 questions, and they stop. Then they say to me, I'm a life coach like you. And I go back, really? I ask them few questions, they not. Then they said to me, I'm a healer like you. And I said, really? I asked them 5 questions, they not. So, you know, we tend to say to ourselves those, I would say, lies. And eventually, the more we say to ourselves, the more it becomes truth, until an expert like me comes and breaks those illusions. And then you go back to your original truth. And to get you to whatever purpose you want to be in life, your purpose, you can design it. The beauty about who you are, you can create any purpose you want. If you have the ingredients, or if that calling from within you is telling you, do this. You know, I could turn around in here and I'll say to you, okay, I'm going to become one of the top singers. Well, that's not my purpose. So therefore, I cannot bullshit you about how amazing singer I am. Mm-hmm. But I can exactly tell you about what these 50 years have taught me, that I can provide a lot of solution to millions of people in the world. So, you know, we need to be in alignment with what we can give, and then consistently grow within ourselves. And every time we master something, we are ready to teach somebody else. And that purpose, it's all dependent on your psychology, especially your values. Most people tell me they know what they value, but with few questions that I've created a system, and also I've learned many other methods that people teach, but I've created my own system now because I brought this, I would say, spiritual and material intelligence together, because you need those both in order for you to find your purpose in that moment and then evolve that purpose. So with certain set of questions, I get people there and then to realize that's their purpose. They're in front of them. And if they have a bigger calling, whether it's like financial freedom, then I have to reshuffle the entire psychology to be in alignment with that which they want. You know, most people want something, but their psychology is not in alignment. Their actions is not in alignment. Their behaviors are not in alignment.
Yeah.
Their beliefs are not in alignment. So for me, this is like the difference between living a fantasy world and being real and being purposeful and having clarity what your values are and what your mission, vision, purpose statements is clear, that demonstrates your life around you demonstrates that. If your life does not demonstrate that, you are bullshitting yourself, that you are on purpose.
Wow. So I should stop looking at even myself. And as I'm listening to you speak, I'm like, you know, this guy's right on. I actually feel like I should be paying you for this session right now. It's like you're dropping so much gems on me. It's insane. But when we say we're living our life purpose, from now on, I'm going to scratch that, because our purpose is always evolving. And at any point in our life, because we're never the same, we're like nature, we're always changing, so does our purpose. Did I get that correct?
100% correct. And actually, I coined the term ever-evolving purpose. After going through so many seminars around the world, when I realized a lot of people are bullshitting people, and people are paying for that.
Yes, they are.
I said, I don't want to be this kind of teacher. I want to bring true intelligence to people, truth that resonates with them and transforms, creates total transformation in their lives, not bullshit transformation. Then 5 years down the line, they come back to me and they say, I resent you for not teaching them the truth when they realize the truth.
You spoke on alignment. And I want to stay there for a second because I think that's so important with life evolution, with growth. How do you know when you're out of alignment? Because you speak about people lying to themselves again and again. And people, you know, I come from the music industry, worked many years of my life in the music industry. And I cannot tell you how many times I have gotten demos from people who swear that they are going to be the next big pop sensation. And it's like, you can't be this delusional. Like, you hear what I'm hearing. This is not good stuff. So the living in your alignment, is that crucial to your growth? Is it crucial to you stop lying to yourself?
Absolutely, it is crucial. Why? Because what I said to you earlier on, everything gets created in a present. So if in the present moment you are lying to yourself, you are creating a past which is a lie and a future which is a lie.
Understood. Understood.
And then at some point you'll have to face the consequences. And you know, it's sort of, I've had many moments in my life where I lived an illusion of lie. Why? Because so many different circumstances make you think there's something true. And then when the changes happen, when you raise your vibration, your knowledge, you realize the illusion. And there's a saying amongst the best of the teachers in the world, teach them the illusion until they're ready for the truth. And I promised myself, I'm not going to do that anymore. We are ready for teaching our young generation and people who are called the truth. And when it's a truth, that's where you are in alignment. You know, if I said to you, you're always nice, would you believe me?
No.
If I said to you, you're always bad, would you believe me?
No.
If I said to you, sometimes you're nice, sometimes you're bad, would you believe me?
I would, yes.
That's the truth. That's the alignment. There and then.
Got you. You spoke earlier. You used the word depression. I want to talk about your book, #Loneliness.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you find the need to write that book?
In 2014, when I published my first book, A Path to Wisdom, I had no idea where that will take me, Shawn, because I just left the corporate world. I faced homelessness for the second time, and then I started finding any jobs I could do just to pay the bills so I could get my flat back because my possessions were in the flat. And as in that space, I decided this is it for me. I'm going to go out there and honor my true calling in myself and combine this almost 40 years of knowledge and experience and give a solution to people out there that works. Mm-hmm. You know, we learn about a lot of the ancient philosophers and psychologists and stuff like that. By all means, they have a credit. But our environment has shifted so much that no longer those kind of concepts work for Generation Z children, nor for us, frankly, where we have access to technology and access to being able to find the truth of anything if we are really dedicated in our life. So in 2014, I put together in Path to Wisdom a foundation of my work, which is 5-step principle. And this has happened after 12 weeks in meditation. I simply sat in silence 8 hours a day, and I asked for guidance for whether you call it God, whether you call it Buddha, Allah, higher intelligence, universe. For me, it's all the same. We all try to understand it. So none of us are right or wrong. We just see it in different ways. Mm-hmm. And in those 12 weeks, I saw many visions, many images, and I saw everything I've studied. And I almost played like a matrix in those visions until I got the word alarm. And the word alarm is basically acknowledge, love, achieve results, create miracles. So this is the basis of the entire thing. So when we come to an alignment within the self, when we truly acknowledge what love truly is, we achieve the results that we perceive to be miracles. We actually activate the miracles of life when we are in alignment with ourselves, with love, with God, and with everybody else around us. But while we still have those judgments, when we see things and events we dislike that challenges our values, we're not in alignment. So we are emotionally responding to events. And this is while you're doing that, because everything gets created in that present moment, you keep shifting all of that. So when the book was released, I was #1 in so many countries around the world, ahead of all of my mentors and teachers like Tony Robbins, Louis Hay, Wayne Dyer, and all these amazing people that I love. And suddenly my book was on #1. And that really shifted something in me, saying, I'm on the right track.
There you go.
This is what I said to you. You need a reality that is backed up with everything that you're doing, because otherwise you're not in alignment. So I'm not living an illusion that people love my book, love my method. So I started teaching, and I started being hired by companies, by individuals around the world. And I put together a 5-day seminar called Vital Planning, where in there I literally shuttle down all people's psychology and bring them into some form of vision of where they want to go next. It's for business owners, professional people. It does not matter. It's a high-end program. And traveling around the world, with technology being enhanced, with all these apps being created, I noticed loneliness everywhere. And also Mother Teresa, she's from Macedonia. My mother, I remember when I was a young child, my mom took me to Mother Teresa. And I know her vision about going around the world and helping the lonely people. And the reality, loneliness, it's a taboo that nobody speaks, but it's in our face. You know, you see parents on the restaurants with children on their phones. There's no conversation. You go to the airport, there was no conversation. You know, you go to the tube every single day, no conversation. You know, I go to offices sometimes, and although I'm coaching the CEO, I'm observing the entire energy that people don't talk. They email each other, and they're just back to back. And sometimes when I tackle productivity issue, when I get to know the culture is corrupt. You know, it's not a nurturing culture. So therefore, because of all those judgments, people shut down. So when you shut down, you're not going to be the best at yourself. So when I looked at all this problem, I felt called to talk about loneliness and talk about and bring that to the hearts of millions, if not billions of people soon. And I also wanted to talk, before I even say something to other people, I needed to be almost transparent about my entire life, my entire loneliness. So at the beginning of the book, I created like a 12th chapter. I was born on 12/12. And I'm creating those 12 chapters that changed my life forever. And I'm talking about those, you know, dips that you said earlier on, those challenges in my life. And although there have been thousands, those 12 challenges that I shared at the beginning of #loneliness, I guarantee you, millions of people will go through those stages. And they will go in different forms, in different realities around the world. And ever since I published #loneliness, I had almost 10,000 people sending me private messages about their life, telling me I've written it for them. It's just like, did you write this for me? And the same thing happened with Path to Wisdom. So loneliness, especially now when looking at coronavirus, we isolated people. Loneliness is as dangerous as smoking 40 cigarettes a day.
Right.
You know, it can create activate and deactivate your genes. So that's why I don't really support this social isolation rule that they've created. Why? Because our immune system needs contact. You know, if you want the masses to be healthy, for sure there needs to be certain things and measures you can take. But putting a social isolation was created by people who don't even understand well-being, don't understand psychology, don't understand the immune system and how to keep people's immune system up. I mean, what I find it amazing is around the world, you have 90% of the media focusing on the negativity, and very little percentage, they bring experts to talk how to help people to raise their vibration, to raise their immune system, to live a healthy lifestyle, to go for a walk and do all those things while the lockdown may be sorted or while they're tracing the virus. So for me, there's something fundamentally wrong in the way we run the society and in the way leadership responds to crisis.
You're so right. You're so on point. I got to ask you, because I had a bunch of questions for you, and I got to wrap this up. But so before I lose you, you said you wrote this.
I'm here.
Okay, good man. Thank you. So please stay with me because I have so much. You say you wrote this book, and you have people hitting you from around the world. You're getting thousands, tens of thousands of handwritten letters and emails. Hey, you wrote this book for me. And I understand that you're in the service of humanity. You're helping people. But does that burden, even though you're in alignment with your purpose, does the burden ever become too heavy for even Tony Selimi? Because you're carrying the burden of a lot of people on your shoulders.
If you interviewed me 10 years ago, the answer would be yes. But today, the answer is no. Why? Because creating all of this work, what I write is something I've embodied. That's why I said to you, you cannot teach something you're not living, because you will be seen as fake, whether you like it or not. Whether people tell you or not, our intelligence knows when somebody is the real deal and when it's not. Whether we like it, whether we acknowledge that in the moment, going back to the method, acknowledge, or not, that's a different reason. But the truth is, we know when somebody walks the talk. We know whether we can trust this person or distrust that person. And when you bring this together, over the years, I learned how to interact with reality without engaging my emotional being. It's not like I don't have emotions, because people sometimes say to me, Tony, don't you have emotions? I separate emotion from love. Most people's awareness and perceptions, they think that emotion is love. You know, I've been into seminars when somebody before me went and bullshitted the whole room about emotional intelligence. And, you know, I went back and I brought the science on screen. And the person before I went on stage knew nothing about me. You know, I went like normal. I always go and say hello to everybody. The truth is, he did not even give me his hand. It's a famous person here in UK. So I don't say anything. I just go, you know, I'm used to that kind of mentality of people rejecting me, or whether I'm, you know, my looks or whatever it might be, my accent, it doesn't matter. So I'm used to that from an early age. So I don't really take it personally. So I went on stage and I literally brought the science of what emotions are and speaking scientifically what emotions are. And I'm seeing the person at the end of the room observing me. That in that moment, I crashed all of his workshop, all of his illusion, all of his teachings. Not because I wanted to. I simply refused to talk about something and teach a lie. I will tell you the science. It's up to you to say, okay, this is what works with me, this doesn't. So, you know, I got the room to ask people after I explained to them, I said, raise your hand, which one of you where do you feel the emotion in your body? And everybody said to me, in my stomach. And I said, okay, so you're in your stomach, but previously you agreed that love is an emotion. I said, which one do you have your heart in your stomach? Okay, and everybody started laughing. And then I explained to them the science of love. And this is also something I write about in all of my books, and it consistently evolves. As my awareness about life and about all this beautiful intelligence evolves, my teachings have evolved. And we all have teachings at certain levels of awareness, and we all of service to certain people. And that's why I believe every human being is of service. Even those people where at that awareness you might be teaching a lie, but soon later your awareness grows, therefore you recorrect yourself, you adjust your course and start teaching the truth until new lie surfaces, and then you teach the lie until you find out the truth. So this is why I said to you, it's an ever-evolving purpose. You know, I see people say to me, oh, I want to reach 1 billion people. And I said to them, okay, so how many have you reached so far? About 100? And I'm like, why don't you focus on the 1,000 first? 5,000, 10,000. I said, I've reached 100 million. So who's more likely the audience to listen to? Somebody who reached 100 million with their work, or with you one, and you saying, I have the same vision as you. And you don't have the same intelligence, same background, same education, same experience, same qualification, none of that. this is where people live an illusion and bring themselves, compare themselves with somebody else, and they think that they can mimic that just to get something. You know, I don't get things. I work, I give value, and for that value, I get rewarded.
It's a question for you, and this is random, but do you journal? And if so, because I know you're a writer, so do you journal daily? And how important is it to express gratitude within your journal? Is there a scientific connection to the law of attraction, to living a good life, to just being an all-around good person by expressing gratitude daily?
Absolutely. Gratitude is the key for you to unlock in the law of attraction. It's one of the keys. There are many other ones, but I daily have a gratitude journal. So after these conversations tonight, our interview, and you'll be in that. So, and I've been keeping this since 2008. And it's amazing. That on its own will be something that when people read it will get inspired. And usually clients, my private clients, when I teach my 5-day program, Vital Planning, they sometimes have a glimpse of that so they can learn what they can do with their own life. And the science behind that is very simple. You know, without me teaching you the maths, the physics and quantum physics, I'll teach it in a plain language. And the plain language is who you are more likely to work with someone who loves you and appreciates you, or someone who judges you and puts you down.
Got you. Makes total sense.
You don't need to know the whole science. You don't need to be the top scientist to understand the gratitude effect. The more things you are grateful about, the more you bring them about. So that gratitude every single day for the last 50 years has brought me to where I am today. And it continues to help me to go where my vision is taking me.
So with that said, you know, and we speak about the law of attraction, I see a bunch of these guys and they're pushing that on you and they're saying, hey, you know, you gotta put a vision board up, or, you know, you have to put all of your, I mean, there was an amazing film made, The Secret.
Yeah.
You said gratitude is one of the keys. First off, is the law of attraction real? Or is it just a marketing tool that people use to, you know, get people to make money off? Is it real? And what are some of the other keys? If somebody's watching this right now and they're sitting and they're down on their luck and, you know, they've listened to the majority of this interview and understand, yes, I can change my life. It's never too late. It starts in the present. I have to understand there is no present. There is no future. There's no past. There's no future. There's only the present. If I want to unlock the keys to start inviting some of the good into my life, even if my life up to this point has been pretty crappy, what are some of the other things I can do? You said gratitude, journaling. Are there any other things I can do?
Absolutely. First of all, let me answer the question, which is the law of attraction real? It's as real as it gets. Why?
Really?
Because again, I'm not going to go into the science because I can teach you and lecture you for a whole year around the science behind that. But I'm going to go back into basic language that every human being can understand. Now, if you need any evidence of law of attraction, take 2 magnets in your hand and play with 2 magnets. Okay? And then you realize that there are invisible forces that basically either repel you from or you are attracted to. Okay? Now, anything that is around us has a specific vibrational print. Okay? Money has its own vibrational print. You know, things you want in your life, the flowers here on my desk, everything has some form of energy attracted to it. Now, your body and your reality, it's always in sync, in accordance to the psychology you have in that moment. And what consists of your psychology? So how do you be part of the law of attraction? Law of attraction, The Secret, was one of the things that inspired me to start diving even deeper, to get deeper into those things. But one of the things what I understood very clearly through my science and my spiritual self aligned together, it's the duality of our nature. And if you look at the duality and you master yin and yang, you are in alignment with law of attraction, especially if you have clarity of your values, because your values is like the zeros and ones in the computer that make decision consistently about any inputs that we put. And then it says, this is true, this is false. So your values filters your reality, everything through your sensory. You're a sensory human being, and you're consistently engaging with your reality around you. And until you learn your true essence of how your senses perceive those information, how your brain then perceives it. Because one of the things when through some of the sessions, when I go in deeper, almost like upgrading people's psychology, I'm telling them every function of the brain and how the brain works. And then I'm looking at their emotional body. And then I teach them heart intelligence. Then I take them to a spiritual intelligence. Some people, I come across people who are very spiritually intelligent, but materially poor. That's not, I say to people, if you don't know how to transform spiritual intelligence to material intelligence, you are still poor. If you don't know how to transform material intelligence into spiritual intelligence, you're still poor. When you bring those two together, you really create breakthroughs. And you really are in alignment with law of attraction, not just law of attraction. You have many laws out there. You know, if you go and study the laws of physics, every law of the physics actually apply to us. If we look at the Newton's law, if you look at the law about, like for instance, when I have people deal with loss, I can break any people's, I would say, loss in one day session. So they don't have to grieve for the rest of their life. So, you know, I've created all of those processes that transform people's psychology and their reality. And if I apply those laws, let's say law of conservation, you know, energy never disappears. It just transforms from one form to another form. So therefore, a true alchemist, you know, my clients call me a true alchemist. True alchemist knows how to change forms. So you have an intelligence. In that intelligence, every human being, no matter where you are, no matter what age you are, there's an intelligence that somebody else doesn't have, that somebody else will pay you money for that. You know, with all of my clients, I created unique products in the world. And that is when it comes to truly unlocking the law of attraction. You know, you can't create something with your existing psychology. That is the biggest failure that people do. Thinking with what you have right now, you'll create something else. No, that's why you are where you are right now. You need a whole new level of psychology, new level of thinking, and new level of way of actually perceiving your reality for you to be in alignment with that which you want to attract in your life. Just same way, if I were to be an arrogant with anybody, they're not going to come to you. I'll give you an example. I was ready to spend good money with a company who said they're going to automate certain processes in my business. Okay, so they reached out to me. I put the time in my diary. They sent me about 10 automated emails to remind me, and they were late on the call and they failed to show up on the call 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, they sent me a message telling me that they had another client. So I created a post without exposing them, saying, by doing that, this is what you do. And this is what the problem is in your business. Now you have to pay me for me to sort out your problem in your business. And definitely, I will never recommend you until you sort out those problems, nor I have a zero desire to work. Why? Because they disrespected my time. Time is the only currency we all have that is priceless. And if you start an engagement with somebody who puts you above other people, what they are actually telling you, they value something else than you. And I teach value and I teach hierarchy of values and how if you are, when I go and transform companies of people or relationships, I help them align their values. So they might think they have opposite values, but with a bit of work, I can help them see how those values can align and they can go together. So when people tell me something that I already teach and they have no awareness, that is the true arrogance and living an illusion. That you can have a client because you have automated systems and those clients are going to pay you a lot of money and you'll build a business. No, you'll destroy your reputation. Okay, so a lot of people I see coaches asking me, how do you build a business? I'm in integrity with myself and with the people I serve. I don't have all those sophisticated systems, but I'm building business consistently. Why? Because I approach people from a point of service and value. Yes, for sure, I have a lot of things going on in technology-wise, but technology is not what sells me. When people say I'm uncomfortable about selling, I said, you know what? People who think they're uncomfortable about selling and marketing, they don't have value on themselves of the knowledge they have that they can provide value for somebody else who transforms their life as a result of your knowledge. I don't see myself as a salesman. I see myself as sharing the 50 years of intelligence that can save you 50 years to go and live the life that you want. That's what sales is about, if you really understand it.
I do. My last question for you, because you spent a big part of this interview, you use the word teach, you are a teacher, but you also have mentors. You seek greater consciousness. How important to success is it to be a teacher and a student simultaneously? Do you ever arrive at this place of ultimate wisdom?
There's no such thing as ultimate wisdom. There's such things going back to evolving wisdom. I implemented across all of my dictionary, across all of my books, created new terms, coined new terms so people can understand and align themselves with that truth. There's no such thing as the ultimate things. Every human being is unique, and their purpose that evolves consistently is unique to them. When you change their psychology, their purpose changes. 20 years ago, my purpose wasn't to be on this interview with you. 20 years ago, my purpose was to finish my master's, to get a degree, to get a job, to get myself, have a home, because I didn't have a home. So that was my purpose back then. But once you achieve those things, because of that creation, because of that intelligence, God-given intelligence, we consistently, once we overcome something, we want something better. Whether it's knowledge, whether it's education, whether it's home, whether it's flowers, whether it's books, whether it's cars, whatever it is out there, it's in our human DNA for us to consistently evolve our wisdom, evolve our knowledge, evolve our awareness, evolve our language, evolve our interactions, evolve our relationship, the products, because we consistently creating new problems. For new problems, you need new intelligence and new approaches.
Where can my audience find you, Tony?
They can go to my website, tonyselimi.com. And all the links and everything about me is in there.
Okay, just to spell that out, Tony, Tony, Selimi, Selimi, correct?
Absolutely correct.
Okay, yes. I just want to make sure for anybody who is listening, Tony, you have been an incredible guest. I have personally learned so much. Coming into this interview, I had an expectation. I knew I would be educated. I knew that you would feed me with concepts that, and there was so much things that I didn't get to because you have these radical concepts, whether we're talking about forgiveness, even your thoughts on forgiveness that we didn't get to. But this has truly far surpassed my already, large expectations of the conversation. So I thank you so, so much for your time. I thank you so, so much for all that you're doing across the globe and all of the great work that you're providing to individuals like myself. You are a true power move maker. Thank you so much.
Shawn, thank you from the bottom of my heart. As I said, I'm here to be of service. A lot of people, they go back and re-listen to those interviews because every sentence I share, it's a gem that if you apply it in your life, I guarantee you, your life will transform and will change. And this is what we all there out there to help others transform and go on a journey that we all on together.
Well, I can tell you this much, man, and this is my truth, is I will be going back and listening to this very interview literally as soon as we're done, because you said so much stuff and there was so much great information. I want to make sure I absorb it and now put it into practice. So thank you so much.
Thank you, and feel free to share it with anybody who wants to be in
No,
touch
it's
for
definitely
interviews.
going up on the platform, so it will be shared with my entire network.
Thank you.
What's up, guys? Thanks for sticking with me to the end of the video. Truly appreciate you. If you like anything you heard here today, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you know anybody that can benefit from this message, feel free to share. Peace and love.